top right-hand corner of Orbital Shipyard, we have the orange Protoss player from Evil Geniuses. Give it up for HuK.
Evening the series up. And in the bottom left of Orbital Shipyard, currently teamless, actually losing that last game in a tough game. It is the green Protoss player, puCK.
And I want to actually talk about something that HuK was telling me before the match and everything. He was saying, you know, giving his opinions on puCK. And he said, of like the Protoss players out there, puCK is a really good player. He's probably like the second best Protoss besides, you know, him and Neve, of course. You gotta have that confidence and everything. But he was saying the one thing about puCK is that he tends to go for like these kind of what puCK considers weird compositions that aren't very good. In fact, I would say, to quote him, usually has bad compositions. That's what he says about puCK. So it's one of those sort of interesting things where in the late game, maybe that is kind of what we saw, where the Phoenixes were sort of a better composition. You were kind of questioning, is Storm the best choice? Yeah, it triggers a lot of the Immortal Hardened Shields, but I mean, if you don't kill them afterwards...
Yeah, if
like,
they're all in the back,
exactly.
not taking damage,
Whereas,
while the Archons are slugging away.
Exactly, and you compare that to like Phoenixes taking them out of the fight until you're ready to kill them. And you have to wonder, is that sort of the situation? puCK wins the very aggressive game number 1, very short game number 1, but in the late game, HuK seems to have won that last one.
Yes, and the other thing to consider is puCK's mentality. Having lost that big, long macro game can't feel great. But we do actually see puCK going for the wall off, which is very it's very common on this map, but I want to talk about this proxy.
Most players, most viewers, and most other people would say if there's a Protoss proxying a pylon, it could be a Stargate. It's most likely a Stargate, and it is a Stargate. But with puCK, you always wonder, is it
going to be a Robo? Yep, that was, I knew where you were going, and I was also wondering that. I think he might also proxy. Is he going to proxy a gate? No, he's going to expand, I guess. Okay, saving up that money for that Nexus. HuK did go Nexus first, and actually went Nexus first to gate, so that's going to be let him get those Stalkers out. But puCK with that really fast proxy Stargate. Oh, HuK knows something's up though. Scouting around, but puCK taking a play out of Haz's book says, where should I proxy this?
In the most obvious location
In the most obvious location ever. Where a normal scout would actually see it.
But you know, at the same time, HuK moves, and the reason why he's scouting around, the big reveal, is the fact that he saw that puCK had completely walled himself off, which is something that you'll tend to do if you are going for something a little bit cheeky.
Yes, absolutely. And we do see the Adept actually, after getting that one scouting probe, is going to run into the base. Sees the double Stalker, can't be too pleased with that. But HuK actually adding on a third gateway and a Robo. I think he knows something's up. Obviously, he doesn't know exactly what it is adding on that Robo. He could think it's maybe DTs. Oh, wow, the Stalker's actually potentially out of position. Is there anything in the main mineral line? No, it doesn't look that way, and puCK is going to get quite a few workers. 3 kills already on those probes. Oh,
yeah,
puCK losing a bit of an opportunity.
Yeah, and we're seeing a bit of a repeat of the last game, but with a reversal of the roles, where HuK in the last game had the Oracle, was doing some good damage and everything, killing off a couple of workers with the Adept, and puCK was the one that was taking some of the damage, but eventually was able to kill off that Oracle. And he may actually be able to keep this Oracle alive, unlike HuK did.
I think puCK is handling it, or HuK is not handling it as well as puCK did last game.
Don't you love these names?
Yes, they're just fantastic. puCK actually is handling this a lot better, both aggressively and last game defensively, than HuK does. And it comes down to that precision once again.
Oracle coming in from the backside, managed to get a couple more kills.
This SimCity in the main base is actually really working against HuK, I feel. It's not letting his Stalkers get around the Nexus in a way that he really wants.
And you know, it's something that a lot of Protoss players do because they want to deal with the Adepts, but it's actually a very similar thing that happens where Protoss players will build these walls against, like, say, a Zerg player, and you're worried about the Ling run-bys and stuff, but then suddenly the Mutals coming, you're like, wait a second, oh god, my buildings are blocking me from killing the Mutals.
This is very interesting. I have to draw attention to this. HuK is going all in right now. He has cut workers. He is building a Warp Prism. He is going to attack across the map with what he can and see if he can end the game.
This Nexus was a fake.
It was. I don't think it was going to be a fake, but because of the damage he took and because of the double Oracle, knowing it was proxied, he's going to go across the map and see what he can do. The Sentry is actually not going to help puCK very much because of that Warp Prism.
Ooh, yeah. Well, Stalkers are getting positioned and ready to move in. The Warp Prism going to give the high ground vision.
Oh,
and
but that
should be able to-
Immortal, though,
Oh,
could be very
okay.
big.
Okay, that one Warp is powered by that pylon, but it doesn't look like
Oh,
HuK
the
is gonna be going
stasis
for it.
trap.
Oh.
This could be huge.
Oh, he is going to trigger a Photon Overcharge, and he's pulling back his units. Loses one Stalker.
That's a big deal. You need to be picking up that Stalker.
Yeah.
All puCK needs to do is hold, and he wins this game 100%. He's up 20 workers. Another Immortal on the way, chronoing it out. Nice use of the high ground vision is going to be targeting down that pylon, powering down one gateway.
That is good, and of course also going to open up that avenue for attack for the Adepts. Going to be able to force HuK to keep some units back.
It's recognizing the Oracles are there to deal with it. Really nice defense from HuK. From puCK. Good cancel from HuK.
Yeah.
Losing that gateway just as it's repowered.
Losing the gateway, that kind of sucks, but you know what? puCK can afford to lose it. Losing the Cybernetics Core, if he doesn't start remaking that immediately, or if he doesn't go in to save it, that is a huge deal. Not being able to warp in any additional Stalkers, having to warp in Zealots against this kind of Stalker army, that is an enormous deal.
I think it's actually not that bad as long as he... nice force field. Oh, really nice force field, but good pickup from HuK. I think it's actually not that big of a deal just because of the Immortal production. Yes. And HuK, he's just now starting to... Wait, oh wow.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of damage with these Adepts.
11 workers going down in the back.
He started
sneaking it by us.
Yeah. He started up on that worker production once again. That Cybernetics Core also survives just barely by the skin of his teeth. And it looks like we end up seeing HuK finally backing up. He doesn't exactly have even worker counts, and I'm not even sure if he'll be totally aware of that. He did get to see the natural expansion in the main base mineral saturation, but it is sometimes hard to get a full read on that sometimes.
Yes, HuK, while he didn't do the damage he wanted to, he didn't end the game, he did do enough worker damage to make this a game again. He's still behind, but he's not completely dead anymore.
Yeah, but here we go. Oracle's moving on in from puCK. They no longer need to be on the defensive, looking for an avenue of attack. And even if he just forces these units to sit back in the natural expansion, when puCK finally moves across the map with his full army, that is where it gets scary.
Oh, no defense in the natural against these Adepts. Nice quick pull from puCK, but we are going to see 2 probes already going down. The pylon overcharge. Okay. Oh, wow. Baiting it away and then canceling the shade, killing quite a few workers, and HuK suddenly takes a worker lead, killing 8 probes right there. That is a huge deal.
And these Adepts are still alive. They're still going to continue to do damage.
HuK is just a master of the scrappiness.
Oh, puCK is not going to be feeling good about this as he now sinks down in the worker supply, 35 to 41. HuK may even be thinking, hey, you know what? How can I inch out this lead a little bit further? He still has his Stalker's position, making sure the Oracles can't do any damage. But hey, you know what? He might even be thinking about third now.
He might. This is such an awkward position, though. You want to take that third, but puCK has so many Immortals. If he pushes across the map, it's going to be very hard to stop him from denying that third. And you don't want to overcommit to taking it. But if he moves across the map, he might also be able to just contain HuK indefinitely and take his own third, even though he's behind on workers, and he himself is now cutting worker production. This is such an interesting game from both of them. The decisions, I really like them both.
Yeah, and I think you brought up such a good point. It really is about knowing whether your opponent is heavily committing to the aggression or not. He sends out the hallucinating things. He sees a third of puCK, but he's also going to see this giant army charging on forward right before he was thinking about planting on the Nexus.
I love that stasis ward from puCK. That is a really nicely positioned stasis ward, and going to cast a revelation on those units. Just really making use of the additional utility from those Oracles, which HuK missed out on last game.
Yeah.
Oh, we are going to see actually...
Oracles.
No, he's not going to commit in there. Going to go to the natural. Nothing here to defend. Couple Blink Stalkers, but still going to snipe off 1 probe.
Yeah, one of those Oracles has so much energy. That is actually going to be a big threat. Could even potentially lay down a couple more stasis traps somewhere else on the map just to make it a little bit easier in case things do not go quite his way. But yes, we do have a Disruptor #1 starting up for HuK.
This is important to note. puCK is going back into worker production. He is now going to do what I said before, which is a hard contain on HuK.
Oh, losing those Oracles. We're losing one of the high energy Oracles does kind of suck for puCK, but you know, he keeps 1 Oracle alive, and really is a lot about just kind of scouting out your opponent's composition and getting an idea of what's coming, because he needs to be prepared for the big aggression if he does not defend well against the Disruptors. And a Depth Shades.
On that Blink. Blink does get the Oracle, but HuK might be trapped out on the map with these Blink Stalkers. Actually, I really like this move. This is going to let HuK move down the map, but puCK has to be so careful. blinking down, does actually kill the stasis ward. If he had not had an observer with that army, I think the entire army gets stasis warded, and those blink stalkers are then caught on the map, and that's a really tough position for HuK. As it is right now.
Yeah, Steadfast, I think that I'm going to say a phrase that has never been uttered by a caster ever, but I think it's going to come down to the control, because we're going to have Disruptor on Disruptor battles. Oh, Warp Prism does get caught out as HuK finds it. Going to be able to kill off at least 1 or 2 of these Adepts before they really manage to get out of there. And I have got to say, I've got to hand it to puCK a little bit, because those Immortals are going to be adding so much more value that HuK just does not have with his army.
Yes, and the Disruptor coming out from puCK, building 2 at a time now. Ooh, nice snipes out Observer. But I don't think HuK can push in here. Disruptors are just so good on the defensive, especially when you can cast them behind that pylon overcharge. But HuK feeling a little bit behind. He is... I just love how they're cutting workers. Oh no, that Disruptor! The rally.
I wonder if that was a rally or if he just lost control of it for a second, thought it was with his army but didn't hotkey. All kinds of things could have gone wrong. But we're starting to see that HuK is starting to make more and more mistakes as the series goes on.
Yes, but once again, I want to mention, I really appreciate the decision making that both players are making. When they choose to cut probes and get aggressive, and when they realize, okay, I can't push in any further, I need to, or I've held off their aggression, I can build probes again.
Well, here we go. HuK trying to knock down these rocks, making sure that he can't get caught in a weird situation where his opponent's on the low ground. He doesn't have easy access to that area. But puCK positioning himself. He's warping a lot of these High Templar. He's going to be making a lot of Archons, but HuK wants to hit before they actually turn into Archons. Not going to find an opportunity, though.
Oh, bit of a preemptive Disruptor shot there, not doing anything. He really needs those to connect hard on this army from puCK. puCK's got to be so careful. Pushing up there. Let's watch the main fight. Does get sniped down.
All of the Disruptors for HuK have been sniped off. The others are all on the low ground right now. They're not in the middle of this fight. He needs those there in the fight immediately. And oh god.
Oh, dodges that Disruptor shot.
Just Blink has already been used though. And now puCK loses a huge chunk of his Stalkers at the same time.
Another Disruptor shot coming to the back. Just gets dodged.
Just barely gets dodged. These Immortals also adding so much value again still for puCK. And he keeps these alive. As long as he doesn't die to these Disruptors from HuK, I feel like he's going to be in a great spot.
Oh, big Disruptor shot on those Stalkers. puCK takes a massive army supply lead. I think this game is absolutely over. Big Disruptor shot coming down, killing the last Disruptor from HuK, and puCK takes down the series after what I would consider an epic PvP.
That was a pretty freaking awesome PvP, as just really, really crazy back and forth, but after puCK was able to establish that 3rd expansion and just keep HuK back for such a long time, even though HuK tried to do that fast tech up to Disruptors, it did not work out.
Yes, puCK looking so relieved right there.
Yeah.
He knows that was a very stressful series, and particularly that Game 3 was so back and forth. At first, the opening, it looked like he was just going to absolutely take that game. Got a big lead with the Oracles. He was able to get, I don't know, a 6-worker lead, but then HuK comes back in, the Adept drop, manages to kill...
15 workers.
Yeah, just did so... It was so back and forth. Oh, I really enjoyed that series. It was very, very good decisions from both players.
Yeah.
HuK just wasn't able to hold off at the end. I think with some better Disruptor shots, he could have held.
Maybe. He had some pretty good Disruptor shots at the end.
Yes, but he had, at the end, it's really difficult to do. I don't even know if it's possible, but he had 3 Disruptor shots that if they'd all hit on the army, if they had been spread nicely, would have killed all of puCK's army.
That would have been pretty scary. But we're going to hop into some of the replays and get a little bit of a glimpse of some of those awesome shots from not only Disruptors, but from some of that harassment that happened.
Yeah, so this was Game 1 on Ruins of Saras.
I loved this build from puCK. It was so well executed. And we remember, HuK did actually end up getting those Adepts into the main base. He ended up seeing pretty much everything. He saw all the gateways and everything, so he knew the aggression was coming, but I'm not sure he was aware of the exact angle and how fast it was going to be coming.
Yeah, it was. It really caught him off guard. You can see from where the Stalkers were positioned right there. He had no idea it was coming. We did see nice control from HuK with the Blink Stalkers, but puCK, equally good control. And because of where that Warp Prism was placed and where he fought, he was able to actually keep warping in units actually slightly closer to the fight. And the Mothership Core did go down, as you can see there, with 50 energy. Another pylon overcharge might have been enough, but at this point, it was just too much. puCK had a little bit too much. They both microed immaculately, but it wasn't going to do it. We saw HuK here try and target down the Warp Prism, but he just didn't have enough DPS, and puCK continued the aggression, eventually just able to outmass HuK.
Yeah. And of course, HuK tried his best to try and make something work. But you know, once you've already pulled the probes once, and you're pulling them a second time, you're like, wait a second, okay, yeah, this is not going to go super well. But in game number 2, we did see a much bigger macro-oriented style.
Yes, this was a nice positioning for that Oracle right here.
Oh, this is that moment
the double photon overcharge
almost found
bait.
that sweet spot. He thought he found that sweet spot. Had denied mining, but maybe got a little bit over-aggressive with it.
Just right here, just a little bit. And he could have denied. The Stalkers were still coming in from the back. They could have blocked any more damage, but he just got a little bit too aggressive.
Yeah. Warp Prism was moving around at this point, and yeah, I remember this. HuK actually moves on out very, very aggressively, ends up losing, you know, a little bit, just almost taking a little bit too much damage over there, and it looked like a pretty dicey situation, I would say, over here.
Yeah, especially with that barrier getting triggered on the Immortal, but because of those the pylons, puCK decided not to push in, which ended up being, I think, a good decision.
Yeah.
Force fields on that ramp can really mess you up. But killing that sentry and a few workers with the Adepts was nice.
You know, it was nice, but at the same time, I think losing that Warp Prism and just the fact that the Phoenixes were out, it just meant that puCK couldn't do any of the aggression that he wanted to. At this point, from this point on, or after he killed off that Warp Prism, it was only army engagements like this that puCK could really engage HuK with. He couldn't ever put on the harassment.
As nice as those storms were right there, having, I think, 2 more Archons would have been more valuable in that situation. Because we can see HuK right now, he retains 3 Archons, and they do get run down a little bit. Blinking on top of the Phoenix was nice, but HuK would have probably taken a less favorable engagement. The Immortals still got out alive anyways, so any of that storm damage was nullified. But meanwhile, this was the big play right here. It was that drop in the natural of puCK, killing 18 probes. Yeah. Counter damage from puCK, just not enough. And here's the big GG push. +3 versus +2. The Phoenix come in,
and you see
lift
they all
off
survive.
So many Immortals.
Yeah, and they all are staying alive because all the other units are targeting, firing down the Archons and everything, soaking up all that damage. Whereas HuK's Immortals are wailing away at this army and killing off his opponent's Immortals.
Even those 2 Void Rays coming out doing so much damage on top of the army.
You know, I actually legitimately thought for a second, I had that moment of fear where I said, oh god, the DTs, are they actually going to clean everything up? But of course, it's not quite enough. When you lose your entire army and your opponent gets away with even half their army, it's still so hard to come back from that.
Yes, the thing is, if puCK had warped in those DTs maybe 10 seconds earlier.
If he'd had them at the beginning of the fight,
yes,
like,
I think it is absolutely a hold from puCK, and I think he 2-0s this series.
Yeah, but we did end up seeing go to that ace match instead, where we had a bit of a role reversal, as it was in fact puCK opening up with a Stargate, and actually it was a proxy Stargate out in the middle of the map. Kind of funny how things started off, but it was a macro one because he had a Nexus coming up behind it, and ended up getting a big worker lead because puCK cut it up that cut workers around 24.
Yes, and this was actually, as this was happening, I believe HuK was sending... No, not yet, because the wall-up's still up. This is where he starts to edge back into the game. Look at this. He's down 21 workers. He needs to get something done. Keeps trying with those shades, keeps canceling them. Finally, this is where they... And we missed it. They snuck into the natural base, and they started picking off workers. And because of the attack at the front and the pickup, puCK didn't activate those oracles as quickly as he could have, and it would have prevented damage. This is the drop that actually brought him into the worker lead in that game 3.
Yeah.
Killing off, I believe, 8 probes before finally being...
Oh, no, he kills a lot more,
He gets 3 more inside of the main,
Yeah, it was, even forcing out all those photon overcharges and everything, and of course, we ended up seeing that puCK holds on for a little bit longer and tries to just get up that big disruptor ball. He actually has 2 disruptors being made at a time. That was another big thing. HuK, he had 2 disruptors being made at the end, but at the beginning, he really just wasn't on that high level of disruptor production.
Yeah, and these Archons right here, they're going to be big difference makers in the fight coming up, but it's the lack of disruptor connections from HuK that really cost him this game. And as you can see on the left side of the screen, 3 disruptors out of position. He can absolutely hold that ramp if he has those disruptors with his army. And here,
that aggressive blink forward was really scary.
It was. He whiffed on 2 of the one of the disruptors actually was killed, and 2 of the disruptor shots stacked on top of each other. If that second disruptor shot can connect with the bottom part of the blink stalkers, I think puCK takes too much damage and HuK holds.
Yeah, and honestly, I kind of feel like the really scary moment there was if those disruptor shots had landed, not even if they were stacked up, if they land on top of the immortals or they land on top of some of the key power units, if they even hit the opponent's disruptors, that is where the big damage really starts to happen. That's where suddenly, like, if your opponent loses all their disruptors, suddenly they can't do the kind of equalizing damage, and maybe HuK does stabilize there, even after losing some of those workers.
Oh, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is those 3 disruptors on the left side. They were caught out of position. The one rally disruptor, that hurt a lot.
Imagine if those were in the fight at the very beginning. They got off 1 extra disruptor shot.
Yes, yeah. Well,
for each.
4 extra disruptor shots from the top of the ramp. That would have been. I don't think puCK pushes in there though, so I think it would have been a very different fight. But that game would have gone on. Maybe HuK would have won. He felt a lot more comfortable in the late game, I feel. But it looks like
we are going to our winner's interview, our first interview of the day of the tournament, as we finally have that all set up. So we're heading over to the host couch as we say hello to Troy Pavlik and the winner of that last game.
Sup guys, no regret here.